So this is a speaker meeting. Our speaker will share his experience, strength, and hope for approximately 45 minutes. We ask out of respect for our speaker to please remain seated until he has finished. It is my pleasure to introduce Bob D.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. My name is Bob Darrow, and I am an alcoholic. I'm a member of the Connect the Dots group of Alcoholics Anonymous in the hitting bottom capital of the world, Las Vegas. And if your primary purpose is helping drunks, it's a target-rich environment. I have a sponsor who knows they're my sponsor. I've had 3 sponsors since I've been sober, and they've all known that they were my sponsor. And I have a sobriety date from which I've had no alcohol or any other drugs, medications, etc. And that's October 31st, 1978. Yeah. It's my personal best, actually. Delighted to be here. A lot of new people. I'm just curious. Can we indulge me? I'd just like to know who's here. How many people are within their first year of absolute abstinence? Ooh. Wow. Wow. Glad you're here. How many people this period of abstinence is not your first rodeo? Oh, wow. Me too. And how many of you that just raised your hand, the other times there were one of those times you swore to yourself and meant it, you'd never touch any of that stuff again? Oh, what's wrong with you guys? Geez. But I'm that way. I went to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous before I was old enough to take a legal drink. And I'll tell you, truly, 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 I needed recovery. I needed this program at that time as much as I need it to this day. But you can only see what you can see when you can see it, and you can only accept what you can accept when you can accept it. And some of us never can truly see or fully concede to our innermost selves that we're real alcoholics. If you have alcoholism, you probably don't know this, and you're going to think I'm being dramatic, but I'm telling you, this is the honest to God truth. If you have chronic alcoholism, you have a fatal illness that will hide itself from you. And like in my case, it hid itself from me in a forest of other problems: heroin, cocaine, speed, pills, depression, anxiety, relationship problems, money problems, employment problems, family problems, feelings of separation problems. I can't fit anywhere, and on and on and on. And to the point where these other problems are so glaring that I don't peep the alcoholism at all. I don't see it. I see the consequences. I see the other problems, but I don't see what's killing me. And most alcoholics of my type die of this disease, and they never really, really understand what happened to them. Because you tried, didn't you? You tried. You tried for yourself sometimes you tried for your kids, sometimes you tried for your parents, sometimes you tried for your mate. But lack of power is our dilemma. And that's one of the most frightening things about me as an alcoholic. You get to a point, as I did after 4 or 5 treatment centers, because I'm a slow study. After about 4 or 5 treatment centers, I finally get to the point where I got a whole bunch of other problems, but I can't drink. I started to see the alcoholism a little bit. I started seeing one aspect in the midst of all these other problems. And what that one aspect is that as an alcoholic, if I pick up a drink, something happens to me that only happens to alcoholics, regardless of all these other things that have caused me problems. And what is that happens to me? Well, every single time I've ever started to drink, as I drink, and that feeling starts to come over me, that effect. You know that feeling? It just, you know that feeling? is that feeling starts to come over me. Something happens to me that only happens to people with fatal chronic alcoholism. And what is it? I get arrested? Sometimes. I get in a fight? Sometimes. I'm obnoxious? Yeah, a lot of times. What's the one thing that's consistent? When I start to feel the effect of the alcohol, I break out in an overwhelming yearning for more. That was true when I was addicted to heroin. That was true in the years I was alcohol and pills. It was true every single time I ever drank alcohol, regardless of what else is on the table, regardless of whatever else is going on. I remember being at a speaker meeting. I was about 10 years sober, and some speaker talked about drinking socially for a few years and crossing over a line into alcoholism. And I remember driving home that night thinking to myself, did I ever do that? I mean, there surely must have been. I mean, I don't think I was born in alcohol. Was there ever a time, even intermittently, ever time, where I would drink and kind of, okay. And I looked back through my life, trying to find that one time, or the one time where, you're in a guy's basement, you're smoking dope, you're doing lines, you're drinking some wine, or maybe you're at the bar with your buddies and you're shooting pool and doing shots and beers. I'm looking for the one time that after about an hour that the guy says to me, hey, Bob, can I buy you another one? I'm looking for the time where I went, no, I'm good here, thanks. I couldn't find one time. You'd think there'd be one time, Wasn't one time. And I don't know that is a hardwired in my DNA allergic reaction to alcohol because I can't see it. Neither can you, I imagine. You ever been in a lot of trouble? I mean, the kind of trouble that gets you to want to stop or moderate, that kind of severe trouble. I remember I woke up one morning. I'm a blackout drinker. Jesus, it's bad when you're a blackout drinker. Any blackout drinkers in here? Oh. I'm in the right place. But it's hard going through life when other people know more about you than you do, isn't it? Oh, I'm telling you. And I don't know about you guys, but nobody came up to me the next day and said, oh, Bob, you were so helpful last night. You peed in our kitchen. Yeah, it's so hard. It's horrible stuff. None of it's good. None of it's good. So I come to on a guy's couch. That shows you where my life has deteriorated to. I'm sleeping on people's couches, and I'm sick, and my nerves are bad in the morning. Man, they're bad. I just grabbing myself, like I do, just kind of putting myself together so I can sort of figure out what's going on. And I don't remember. I got this sick, fearful feeling about the night before. And my blackouts are not always the whole night. Rarely are they. What I do remember sometimes is little snapshots. You know what I mean? I remember all of a sudden seeing handcuffs. That kind of stuff. Right. And this particular morning, I look back at the night before, and I have little snapshots. But they're not good. These are all horrid, shameful, embarrassing, kind of, squirmy things. The kind of stuff you sort of remember doing it, but you think, oh, I wouldn't have done that. And then I have a roommate. The guy's asleep on his couch. He lives to tell me what I did the night before. Oh, my God, it's like Christmas with him. He just can't wait. So I'm starting to get the picture of what I did last night. Now, this is bad. This is really bad. There's a whole group of people now. I can't be around them. You know what I mean? That shame where you've humiliated yourself in front of a bunch of people. Now I can't even be around those people. I started thinking about some of the things I did. I could have been in jail for that. Could have went to prison. This is not good. And I'm full of remorse, but I'm nervous, and I'm supposed to meet some guys down at Dots, which is a corner bar where we shoot pool and drink a little bit, and then I'm supposed to go out. Then sometimes we go play music because I play music with a lot of these guys. And I'm afraid. I don't want to. I'm having this conversation with myself. Man, I can't do what I did last night. I can't do that anymore. I can't. And so I don't know what to do. I got to meet my buddies, and I'm nervous, and I need a couple, but I don't know. Oh, God, I can't do it. So a plan occurred right before my eyes. The plan was, okay, I'll go down to Dots. I'll shoot some pool with my buddies. I'll slow sip 8 drinks. 8's a good number. No, I'm not going to say 2 because that's ridiculous. But 8's a good number. And if I take my time, I can make 8 drinks last most of the night. I can have fun. I can get free of this nervousness a little bit. 8 drinks. Man, it was a good plan. Because I never did anything too bizarre in 8 drinks. That's always somewhere north of 12. You know what I'm saying? Like I never tried to punch a cop on 8 drinks. Nothing. 8 drinks is good. And I went down to Dots, and I was shooting pool with my buddies. And, well, that first idea of slow sipping, I am not a sipper. I just not. It's like, you ever try to slow sip when you really need a drink? It's like, it's like a weird reaction. Whoa, what happened there? But I'm not a sipper. I drink for the effect. And instant gratification is not quick enough for me. That's why I like whiskey. I like 151 rum. That's why I like hypodermic needles. That's why I like now. I like now. And so I go down there, but I got my plan. 8 drinks. Good plan. Good plan. Until I got to 7. When I got my hand on the 7th drink, it was like this awakening, this epiphany, of how stupid the 8 drinks was. 8 drinks was stupid. 12 drinks is more reasonable. It's a better. And I don't understand that I'm in the grip of an allergy that manifests itself as this craving. And I don't see no craving because it uses my own mind and my own thinking against me. All my powers of justification and rationalization fall right in line to satisfy an allergic reaction that I don't even know I got. And consequently, I burnt my life to the ground over and over and over again, and I don't know why. I can't tell you how many times I either would swear to myself I'm not touching it, or I would swear to myself I'm not going that far again, and I never found the power within myself to carry out either one of those promises. Never. And I learned through failure, through shame, through consequences and cause and effect over a period of several years, in several treatment centers, several times getting sober and telling myself I'm never touching that stuff again and meaning it. And I learned that for some reason, I don't understand it, and I couldn't have said allergic reaction. I couldn't have said phenomenon of craving because I hadn't read the book. But I knew that I must not take the first drink. For a guy, and I knew, it's like for me to take the first drink, it's like having sex with a gorilla. You're not done till the gorilla's done. You know what I'm saying? You can tell yourself all night long, I'm just going to pet the gorilla. No, don't pet the gorilla. It's bad. It's bad. Don't stay away from the gorilla, but you know. The gorilla's cute. Till it beats the crap out of me. So I started waking up to this, that I must not take the first drink. And no, drugs too, all that's all on the table. But the real phenomenon, the craving, the real sickest reaction is to the first one occurs with an alcohol. More so, I'll tell you a funny story. I would have considered myself, I introduced myself in the early 70s as a drug addict. I'm not, even though I was physically addicted to heroin and methadone and a bunch of stuff. But what I got doesn't come in substances. It comes in people. And I had an experience, my 17th year of sobriety, I had a really good year financially. So good that I rented a big house on the beach in Maui. I had 2 Harley Davidsons. I had one for myself, one for my brother-in-law. Flew them and him and my sister over there. And we're riding around the island on Harleys. It was a hell of a time, great time, really good time. And I'm trying to impress my sister. I guess it's sort of an aftermath of the amends I've made to her. Is now I want to like impress her now that I've made the, you know what I mean? Just, I don't know, some kind of ego thing. But she had never been there before, and I'm showing her the island, and there's one place we didn't go, and that was the top of the Haleakala volcanic crater, which is 11,000 feet off the beach, straight up, and it's all hairpin turns, and I want to show her this because it's cool from up there, because I've been up there a couple times. You can see the other islands. It's magnificent. So we start up there, and it's raining. But I'm so obsessed with getting to the top. I'm convinced that we're going to bust at about 8,000, 9,000 feet. We're going to bust through that rain, those clouds, and we're going to get up above them, because I've been there sometimes where you get above the clouds up there, and you can see the other islands. But the problem is we get up there, and it's miserable. It's rainy. It's just horrible. So we're coming back down sort of depressed and soaking wet, and it's cold, and going through one of those hairpin turns and hit moss, downshifted into the turn, hit moss, wet moss on that road, and that bike shot out from underneath me and catapulted me into a bed of lava rock. Now, lava rock is like broken glass. It's brutal. And I'm laying there, and I thought, I'm dying. I think I broke my back. I had never experienced that kind of pain. Eventually, the ranger came, and he got an ambulance. Took a long time. Got an ambulance up there, and they took me to Kahului General Hospital, and they oh my God, I was in such pain. And they got me in there. They finally gave me a CAT scan, and they came back from the CAT scan. I had 7 snapped ribs and a snapped collarbone, right? And plus, they were digging lava rock with brushes out of me for about 40 minutes. And now they stopped it. They stopped messing with me. And I'm laying there, and I'm thinking to myself, okay. They haven't given me any pain medicine, and I don't want any, because I'm sober 17 years. And I'm laying there, and I'm thinking, okay, if they don't mess with me anymore, I think I can make it through this. And the doctor came in, and he said, oh, got your CAT scan back. It's safe to give you morphine. I said, Doc, you can't give me morphine. He says, why not? And I said, well, I had 2 years of my life where I was addicted to heroin. And now I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've taken nothing for 17 years. He said, I can't take it. And he said to me something that pulled the rug out from under me. He said, listen, kid, this is non-negotiable. You have 7 broken ribs and dynamic tension between those and your collarbone. You're never going to heal. Your muscles are contracting around those bones. We must dumb that pain down. You're never going to get better. You're going to be crippled up. And I didn't know what to say, and he stuck that. They had me on a PICC line because they thought I was in shock. They stuck that syringe full of morphine in that PICC line, pushed that in there, and it was an odd thing. It actually went to the pain. It didn't go to my head. I didn't have to steal anybody's TV set or nothing, right? But if that doctor would have came into that emergency room, and this is the difference, this is why I know I'm alcoholic. If he'd have come into that emergency room and said, listen, kid, we must give you 4 shots of 100 proof vodka every 4 hours, I'd have been screwed, because the first time they gave me those 4 shots, that thing would have come over me, and I'd have been running down the street looking for a liquor store with that bathrobe flapping in the background. You know what I'm saying? Because alcohol is not my drug of choice. It's my drug of no choice. And that's why if you're an alcoholic, you may have a couple drinks and not get really, really drunk, because maybe you will switch to something else. Or maybe you'll do like I did often. I'd be at your house drinking. You run out. I go to your bathroom. And I start going through your medicine cabinets. And I just start taking whatever's in there. I mean, if it says on the label, do not operate heavy machinery, I get excited. You know what I'm saying? Right? And I take stuff, I don't even know what I'm taking half the time. One time I took some stuff, it just made me really regular. Oh, I don't know what that was no good. Another time I took some stuff, some kind of phenobarbital or barbiturate, I guess, because it turned my legs to rubber, and I was falling down and laughing. And another time I took some stuff that was like these Christmas trees, and I was up for a day and a half with plans that were going to change the world. I mean, I was just like talking, repeating them over and over to people, you know. And one time, I ate all the pills off some wheel, discovered I'm not going to be pregnant this century. Now, why am I doing that? Is that because I'm a pillhead? No, it's because I have alcoholism, and the alcohol set something off inside of me that demanded attention. It's almost, I fancy that it's like somewhere deep in the core of my being is an unrecognized, and it doesn't show up on a CAT scan, switch. And that switch, alcohol throws that switch every single time, and it's the gotta have more switch. And I'm the guy that there's no way to shut the switch off as long as I'm conscious. I take it to the wall every time. Every time. I remember I was at a party up in right outside one of the suburbs of Boston over spring break with a buddy of mine. We were up there. We heard about this party, this legendary party. And it was, man. They had kegs. They had tequila. Never had tequila before. They had beer bongs. They had hashish. They had Coke. They had all kinds. And some guy, I've been hammering it now. I'm like feeling really good. I've been hammering it for about an hour. And somebody came through the party with a baggie full of capsules. And I didn't even ask him what they were. It's like that's irrelevant. I just said thank you. Took a bunch of them. Well, they turned out to be animal tranquilizer. That's not good. Because in an hour, I'm laying on the floor of where the party is, and my legs and everything's turned to rubber. I can't get up, but I'm still conscious, so I'm trying to talk people into bringing me drinks, right? Because of an allergic reaction to alcohol. Well, if that was the end of it, then a treatment center would have turned me out as a winner. Because I would have gone to a treatment center, and they would have, through a series of movies and lectures and AA meetings, I would have woke up. I would have woke up to the truth. Maybe even deep down within me, I would have woke up to the truth that, man, Bob, I got that thing. And I did do that. But that is only a minor little, it's almost an insignificant portion of alcoholism, but it is what defines me as an alcoholic. But there's another aspect, and that's not only do I have this abnormal reaction to alcohol, as I have an abnormal reaction to abstinence. And I don't understand it. And I don't understand why, with high hopes and a commitment and an enthusiasm to change my life, I get physically sober, and then the shine of that starts to wear off. And all my hopes and designs and all my acquisitions just, it's like I'm sober and I see things I know are going to make a difference. I see a girl and she's the one. And then I get her and then I realize, oh God, was I wrong about her? Jesus Christ. Get that job. You always want to get that Harley, get in that band. Whatever it is, the shine wears off of it quickly for me. And so I'm sober and I'm restless. I'm always disappointed, really disappointed. I try to hide it. I try to act positive. I can sit in a discussion meeting and the subject's gratitude. I'll come up with a little mental list that is shallow and meaningless because I don't believe any of it, of things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful I'm not in prison. I'm grateful I don't have leprosy. It's nothing. Truth is I don't care about any of that. There's a thirst inside of me, and I don't understand it. And when I run out of things to acquire, then the thirst returns to its origin, back to alcohol. Carl Jung, in a letter to Bill Wilson in the early 60s, after working with Roland Hazard, now Carl Jung was a big piece in the forming of Alcoholics Anonymous. He didn't know it. But in a letter to Bill Wilson, he said something that when I first read this, I thought, oh my God, that is so true. He said that he believed after working with these drunks that the alcoholic's thirst for alcohol isn't really a thirst for alcohol. He said he thought it was a low-level thirst of the alcoholic's very being for unity, or if you're more religiously minded, a union with God. And that, if you're new here and you have the atheistic, agnostic slant that I had when I got here, you probably sat there and went, that's a bunch of crap. You know why I think that's true? Because when I got into the steps and I started sponsoring people and taking them through the steps, the thirst, as long as I do that, the thirst stays at bay and never comes back. Because I'm satisfying the thirst with what it's really craving. And I don't know it. And it is, Young said, it's an unrecognized thirst. And because it's unrecognized and we don't get it, we don't understand it, it takes us down the road to what, he uses a great word, perdition, which is hell. And I think that's true. It's an unrecognized thirst. I have never busted out on a pass or just quit a treatment center in all those years I was in and out on my way to a drug dealer's house or into a liquor store to buy a bottle with a sense of urgency, and never in walking through that threshold thought to myself, this is a low-level thirst for God. Who the hell thinks that, right? How did Young come up with that? He came up with it by watching alcoholics who've had a spiritual experience, and the thirst goes away. So in 1977, I ended up in a jail cell. Actually, I think it was late. It was either late 77 or early 78. And I ended up, I'd been arrested. I don't remember being arrested. I was in a blackout, but I was being charged, facing a minimum 2 years in prison for a hit and run, DUI, and a stolen car. And it wasn't really stolen. The guy who owned the car had passed out, and I needed more alcohol, so I borrowed his keys, right? And then took out a whole row of parked cars, evidently. I don't remember any of it. I don't even remember they gave me a field sobriety test. Don't remember it. Somewhere in the arrest report, it said they had to discontinue the field sobriety test because they were afraid that I was hurting myself. Because I guess I was standing on one leg and falling over or whatever. I don't know. And I end up in jail. And this is one of the low points. This is one of probably the 3 or 4 worst low points in my life. And why is it such a low point? Well, they gave me a phone call. And I'll tell you, if I ever needed help, if I ever needed my parents, if I ever needed anyone, I need them now, because I got to get out of here. And this is one of those back east prison jails, counties with a lot of violence and a lot of crap going on. And I gave me a phone call, and it was a sick feeling. There was nobody that would take my call. Nobody. And I'd had a mother and father that sacrificed for me, would have done anything to help me. I had a little sister. I was her hero at one time. I had some girlfriends that would have done anything for me. I had some running partners, guys I played music with and I just hung out and drank with that would have done anything for me. They're all gone. And somehow, in the midst of my spinning, tweaked out, crazy, insane head and emotions, I knew a truth. I did that. Did I mean to do it? No. No, I didn't mean to do it. Did I mean to break my mother and father's heart? No, for God's sakes, no. Did I mean to push those women out of my life? No. Did I mean to lose those jobs? No. Did I mean to ruin those friendships? No, I did not. But did I do it? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And that's called alcoholism. It starts to take from you. It starts to take. One of the favorite analogies I've ever heard was a friend of mine from the Pacific Group shared this one time at an event we were at together, and I thought it was brilliant. He talked about one of his best friends had diagnosed terminal stomach cancer, and he said that everybody was very sad. And I understand that. When my mother was terminal, what the doctors are basically saying to you, listen, there's nothing anybody can do here. You might as well get your house in order. It's tough to hear that for yourself or a loved one. And so everybody was sad. This guy's got terminal stomach cancer, and a couple months go by, and he runs into a mutual friend on the street, and the guy says, hey, they're going to operate on so-and-so. He gets excited. He thought, oh, good. Finally. They finally found a surgeon that knows what the hell he's doing. He's going to perform the surgery, and he's going to take that cancer out. And he was excited. He called over there. The guy's mom answered the phone. He said, I hear he's going to have surgery, and they're going to take the cancer out. And the mom says, well, he's going to have surgery, but they're not going to take the cancer out. He says, well, what are you talking about? Why would they have surgery if they're not going to take the cancer out? And they said, well, they have to cut out sections of his liver and a piece of his stomach and part of his intestines so that the growth of the tumor before it kills him is not excruciatingly painful. And alcoholism is exactly like that. If your mother and father, doesn't matter how much they love you, I'm telling you, in time, if they get in the way of the progression of this sickness within you, this sickness will cut them out of your life. Your job, your career that you're so excited about, maybe you went to college to get it. In time, alcoholism will cut that out of your life. Your mate, who you think is your soulmate, you're going to spend the rest of your life with, in time, alcoholism will cut that person out of your life. Your hobbies, maybe even your children who you love more than life itself. In time, alcoholism will cut your kids out of your life. How many hundreds, and maybe if not thousands of us get here, and the courts have taken away our kids or taken away our right to see them because we're a danger to ourselves and we're a danger to them. The good news is in the program recovery, when you throw yourself with the help of a sponsor into the solution, especially the amends part, there's nothing, I'm telling you, I've seen it all. There's nothing that's not be able to, you can't restore here, nothing. If you're willing to get your life out of the hands of the idiot that's been running it and get a sponsor and start to live on spiritual principles. And so, in early 78, I think it was, I went before a judge and he sentenced me to 2 years in the state penitentiary, and it was, God, what a sinking feeling when they sentence you. And then he did something, I almost didn't hear him because I was so overcome with the fear of doing the 2 years. He said, we're going to stay the commitment, and then we're going to put you in a place called the Ark House, which I hesitate to call it a treatment center. It was the bottom of the food chain for treatment. I was in a room with like 20 guys in bunk beds, you know. It was like a mission, like a homeless shelter. You know, you're in that room, it's all ass and feet. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's the bottom, low bottom people, right? And I'm there, and it's funny. It's at least when I get to places like that, or I'm in jail, I don't feel too bad, because finally my insides match my outsides. You know what I mean? It's not that conflicted with me. And I'm in this place, and I'm trying to stay sober, because all I got to do is stay sober a year, and it's a misdemeanor time served. If not, it's a felony in 2 years. So I'm jacked about not drinking. I know I've said to myself many other times, and I believed I meant it, that I'm never touching that stuff again. But this time I really have to do this. The problem is I can't. The level of powerlessness when it comes to the first drink is equal, if not superior, to the level of powerlessness once I've had the first drink. And what happens to me is I get weird. You know, this abnormal reaction to abstinence. And I get to a place where it drives me insane. These feelings I don't understand. You know, I don't fit anywhere when I'm sober. I go to these stupid AA meetings and with a feeling like it's all of you and then there's me. And then the people in AA, they're offensive. I mean, they're obnoxious. You know, they're grateful for everything. Oh, my God. And happy, clappy, stupid people. Oh, my God. They're always talking about God. I'm an atheist. It's like, I went to a guy who ran this treatment center one time. I said, I don't want to go to the AA meetings. He said, you have to go. I said, listen, I know it said you get some government money, and I know it says somewhere in the Constitution that I'm given a right to freedom from religion. It's actually freedom of religion, but I like the freedom from religion a little better. And you can't make me go there. And he said, you're right, I can't. But if you don't go to those meetings, you're not going to stay here. And it's the middle of winter in Pennsylvania, and I can be flexible at times. But I didn't listen. I just sat there and judged you all. Stupid, pathetic, happy, clappy, You know, sunbeams for Jesus. That's what you were, you know. Right. And I'm dying in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I don't tell anybody because I got to look cool. I sit with a slouch like nothing bothers me. You know, how you doing? I'm doing fine. I'm perfect. You know, I'd have these snappy responses, you know. The truth is, inside me where I really live, at a place I don't want to look at and I don't want to go, I'm not doing very good. Truly, I am not. But I want to be accepted by you. And I want to look like you. And I want to sound like you. And I'm dying in here. And I'm too afraid of what everybody thinks of me to become transparent with anybody. And the truth is, I don't know how to become transparent. I remember a counselor one time, this was just less than a week, I think, before I went out on a drunk, and I was in one of these recovery houses. The guy comes up to me, and he's trying to help me. And he says, Bob, what's wrong? Because I guess I didn't look happy, joyous, and free, I suppose. And he says, what's wrong? And I remember just looking at him thinking, oh, man, I'd like to tell you. I'd like to tell you. Maybe you could help me. But I don't know what's wrong. It's not that anything in particular is wrong. It's just that nothing's right. You know, I don't have a reason to feel the way I feel. It would be different if terrorists had killed my family or something. And then I'd go, oh, of course I feel messed up. But usually I get to that point when in the material world, everything's better than it's ever been. I destroyed all hope in my parents, because what would happen to me, and my parents loved me, and they'd spend money on treatments, all kinds of stuff. And I would get 6 months sober. I'd be back on my feet. I'd get a nice job. I'd get a nice girlfriend. I'd get a place to live. You could bet your ass every time that everybody that was watching me would say to themselves, whew, man, Bob's turned the corner. Bob's doing good. That's the time I would pick up a drink and burn my life to the ground. Which, when it says in our book, we're a baffled lot, why do I do it when things are good? Now, there were a few times I got drunk when things were bad. But I often, doesn't matter, because the inside of alcoholism is independent of my outside reality. People drink again when things are good. People drink again when things are bad. People stay sober when their kids are killed. People stay sober, as my friend down at the Pacific Group, his son was shot and killed. He's doing really well. People stay sober when they discover that their wife and daughter moved in with their best friend who they'd been having an affair the last year of their marriage. That happened to me. And I got through it. And not only did I get through it, in this insane alchemy, God's alchemy in Alcoholics Anonymous, it became one of my greatest assets. God turned the lead that was crushing me into gold. I can't tell you how many dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of guys I've helped with that genuine experience of how I got through that and stayed sober. And I'll see him when I get back to Vegas. I sponsor him all this time. I sponsor him to this day. Right? How do you do that? It's called Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a process. And I started entering into this life-changing process in 1978. In 1978, I tried to kill myself. A lot of us do. Some succeed, some don't. But I understand it. We've had several in the last year commit suicide successfully. And some of these people had kids and just had everything to live for. But when the pain of being who you are is greater than your fear of death, death looks like a pretty good deal to a guy like me. And I tried to kill myself, and I couldn't. I couldn't do it. I'm a coward. And it wasn't that I was afraid of dying. Death looked like a new escape to me. I was afraid that the bridge I was standing on wasn't high enough. And that has ramifications and fantasies of laying paralyzed in a charity ward for 50 years where nobody will bring me a drink as my head plays the movies of my shame and debauchery, you know, and oh God. And I couldn't kill myself, and I ended up through a series of circumstances running from the law, trying to get to California so I could survive a coming winter and not maybe get phony ID and maybe not go to jail. But I never made it. I made it to Las Vegas. And through I wasn't sure. I figured out later he was a security guard. I thought maybe he was a cop. But he helped me get into a detox there. And that detox was at the county hospital, and they did a search. I didn't know that my dad had stopped talking to me and had nothing to do with me. But he carried me on his Blue Cross and Blue Shield that he got through the government. And they found out, and they sent me to a new treatment center that just opened. It was August 28th, 1978. That's not my sobriety date because of the medication I was on. And somewhere in that first 2 months, I smoked a joint with this girl that was an alcoholism counselor. I'm just glad she wasn't into vodka, because it was, you know, do you want what I have and are willing to go to any lengths? I was like the Alpo dog. Yeah, you know. And I had to change my sobriety date to October 31st, 1978. And I remember how vulnerable I was, how scared I was in that detox. I was terrified. It's like there's this giant hole in the midst of my being. And I've had this for a long time, and nothing fills it up. Nothing. And I tell you, I don't know anyone's ever tried. There's a delusion that it says in our book that we're victims of. And it kills some of us. It says we're victims of the delusion that we can rest, and it's with a W, like wrestle. We could wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if we only manage well. You know why that's a delusion? For God's sake, step back from us. And look at us as if you were a sociologist or an anthropologist. I don't think you'll find a demographic in the existence of humanity that's ever spent more money, more obsessive, focused time and energy on trying to make themselves happy as we have. And the end result is, would you sponsor me? Complete failure. It is the essence of why I can't manage my own life. And that's as true today as it was 42 and a half years ago. And you know how you really, truly, at a gut level, know you can't manage your own life? Manage it for a while. Do you know how you become sponsorable? Sponsor yourself for a while. And so, in 1978, I got a man named Dick Tucson. He'd been a past delegate. He had been one of the guys that started the Thai Club. He started the Las Vegas Roundup, the retreat. He was a real doer. He took meetings in there twice a week with some of his sponsees. He was a 5%er. And what that means is, and I heard this from a trustee 41 years ago at a service assembly. He said that 5% of the fellowship do 95% of the service in 12-step work. Then he went on to say that 5%, as long as they don't quit being a 5%er and they stay in the game, they never drink again. And the guy, my sponsor, was a 5%er until the day he died, with a little over 50 years of sobriety. And I got him, I asked him to sponsor me. I felt like such a worthless piece of crap. Honest to God, I just thought, I was afraid to ask him. I mean, really afraid. I was afraid of the rejection. So I went up to him and I said, would you sponsor me? And I'll do anything you ask me to do, because I didn't want to look like I'm going to be a problem. Right? And he lit up. He wasn't on danger, rejected me. He loved it. And we started a journey together, and it was a tough journey, because good sponsors will have a conversation with you to find out if you're an alcoholic. You may have other problems. Yeah, you get all that other crap. Yeah. Are you an alcoholic? What happens when you drink? And what happens when you don't drink? Are you the guy that talks about in the beginning of the 4th chapter? It says, if when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely. What do they mean by entirely? That seems a little extreme. They don't mean marijuana, do they? They don't mean medications, do they? I mean, marijuana is organic. I couldn't quit entirely. I got off the getting drunk train for little periods of time if I did enough other stuff. But I couldn't quit entirely. Or if when drinking, you have little control over the amount you take, and I'm that guy. And I knew I was dying of this disease, and one of the first directions he gave me was to turn myself in and offer to go do 2 years in prison. I thought, man, and I do this with guys, I will test their willingness. So you're willing to go to any lengths, are you? Well, meet me at my home group Monday night, an hour and a half before the meeting starts, and I want you to have a coat and tie on and stand at the door and greet people. Oh, some of the reactions I get to that are amazing. Like, what doesn't say that in the book? I said, you're right, it doesn't. But if you're not willing to do something as simple as that, what the hell makes me think you're going to do the hard stuff that's coming down the line in the amends and service and the divine inconveniences of Alcoholics Anonymous? Because I'll tell you something, you know what the highest coinage here are to build a spiritual structure? Is the inconvenience action. If all you do, if you want the illusion of being a servant in the AA, and all you do is the things you feel like doing, you're just another self-serving guy. It's the inconvenient stuff that makes the difference. And I asked this guy, and he walked me through. He got me to pray. I didn't want to pray. I told him. I said, I can't pray. He said, why not? I said, because I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist. He said, I didn't ask you to believe in God. I asked you to pray. I said, listen, if I pray and I don't believe in God, I'd be a hypocrite. And he got a big smile. He said, you've been a hypocrite all your life. What's the difference? Just do it. It was like he didn't care what I thought or how I felt. But he cared about the actions I took. And Alcoholics Anonymous is not a faith-based program. It's not an awareness-based program. It's an action-based program. It's the actions I've taken in my life for the last 42 years that have changed my life, and I couldn't have taken them on my own. I had to have examples. I had to have people tell me how to go to work. I don't know how to go to work. I get a new job. I get a good job. You know what I do? I'm not even there 2 days. I start noticing how stupid everybody is. Right? I start noticing how they're not doing it right. You know, and I'm the guy that's leaving. He taught me how to go to work. Chamberlain told me. And my sponsor said it in different words, but I heard it from Chamberlain. He said, you got to forget yourself and go to work just to be helpful, help God's kids, be of service. And when I started doing that, my work life, it transformed. I mean, unbelievable. You guys taught me how to live. You taught me how to get along with people. You gave me inconvenient actions of service and restitution in the amends process that changed how I felt about myself. And I'm a depressive. And I'm a guy, if I could have been honest with you when I got sober, I would have told you that I loathed myself. And of course I did. If you're like me, you would hate anyone and want to kill anyone that did to your life and your loved ones what you did to them. And you showed me how to take actions to restore. I got to restore the unity with my mother and father. I tell you, I didn't think it was possible. I tried to tell my sponsor when he first direction, he wanted me to start calling my mother every Sunday. This isn't going to work. I've done too much damage. I've destroyed them. I've gutted them emotionally. They're not going to take I said, she won't take my call. You know what he said? Don't call, collect. Oh. Where do you guys come up with this stuff? I mean, oh my God. It's like, who thought of that? I mean, because I am entitled. I'm so selfish and with entitlement. I always call collect. They owe you. What for? I don't know. Being born, maybe. I don't know. I always felt like the world owed me something. And the truth is, you guys taught me that I owed the world. And that You got me to receive help here in the very beginning, and then after receiving it, not for very long, you started asking me to give it. And that's where the magic starts, in helping others. My first sponsor was a fanatic. And I'd worked as a therapist for a while. And it didn't help me. It actually made me sicker. But I worked as a therapist for a while. I studied with Ellis and all the great rock stars of psychotherapy. And so I had a background to that. My mother was a therapist. I had a background to that. And so I get sober. My sponsor wants me to start doing 12-step work, helping people, H&I, all that stuff. And I know what he's saying. He's a nice old guy. He's one of those AA do-gooders, you know, right? So I said to him, well, I'm willing to do some of that, but don't you think I should work on me first? And it looked like he bit into a lemon. And he reared back and he said, work on you? You've done quite enough of that. Stop it. And when he said that, I didn't get mad or hurt or nothing. I just thought, oh my God, I've done a lot of that. If I could have been fixed, I'd have been fixed by now, for God's sakes. I mean, I primal screamed, I was hypnotized, I did Gestalt therapy, transactional analysis, rational and motive therapy with Ellis, the founder. I mean, if I could have been fixed, I would have been fixed. And all I did was the more I studied myself, the more sicker I got. The more I tried to work on me, the sicker I got. Because you guys told me something I would have never imagined. Lack of power is your dilemma, Bob. You can't fix yourself. But you're going to go over here with us. And we're going to stand with you as you face the things you're afraid to face. And we're going to go with you as you go on 12-step calls and as you go into the hospitals and the jails. And in this actions that we take, you're going to be different. How are you going to be different? None of us know. We just know you're going to be different. And we'll guarantee you this, that you're going to discover whatever this power is that's transforming you, that evidently its vision of your life is better than any vision or fantasy of your life you could have ever had. And that is the absolute truth. 42 and a half years later, I'm here to tell you that two things. One is I have a life I can never repay. It's a life beyond my wildest dreams. I mean, if I started telling you about what goes on in my life today, most of you would resent me. Truly, because I would. But I have this amazing life, and the most important thing is it's not my fault. I didn't do this. I didn't do it through intellect. I didn't do it through willpower. I did it through surrender. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it describes about half this room, the half that are going to die within the next couple years. I wish that wasn't true. But it said the line between the ones that are going to get better and have the greatest life they've ever known and the ones that are going to die is defined by a line in chapter 5. It says, those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. If a grand jury investigated you for 6 months, would they convict you of being all in AA, or would they convict you of being a visitor or a person that puts himself first in AA when it's convenient? I hope if you were to come to Las Vegas and you were to come to my home group and you would follow me around for a week, I hope that, not that I sound like I'm all in. My God, I hope I look like I am, because it's my actions that make the difference. Thanks for listening.
I got him. Let's thank Bob one more time.